You've spoken about zero trust, I think, a few hundred times, if not more, till now, and that's just a joke, and it's just a few dozen times. But it's definitely a topic which is getting significant attention in the region, and there's ample evidence, as you rightly pointed out, that for its importance in the modern technology architecture. And I think the report does great justice to talk about how the cost of a data breach is less than by $1 million if zero trust is part of the foundational framework. But in your view, what's really stopping organizations in the region from adopting the zero trust framework in a big way? It just can't be legality, compliance, and regulatory requirements that drive people to zero trust. So what, according to you, is missing, or let's say work in progress on this topic?
Well, I think the first thing I'd say is it's really about making sure you've got the mindset right. So I'm going to try not to say the word for the rest of the interview, but the mindset applied to existing work cybersecurity activities may apply and qualify. But I think so it's a granular thing, and I think the thing that is holding it back, or is getting it moving, in fact, and then is going to accelerate, is that those standards are evolving. And I know that IBM is participating in some pretty sophisticated interoperability events under NIST that includes many other vendors getting together to make sure that scenarios are executed right. So in considering that mindset, there are three. If you have the three elements in mind, it's the ensuring least privilege, and then the second one being, and this is where most of the enhancements have been made, is around continuous verification, and the third one being assumed breach. Now, continuous verification has actually started to deliver us analytics at scale closer to where the attacker might be starting their attack, and being able to focus analytics and AI down at that level helps you start to cut things off, like ransomware events. If you know that endpoint is emitting some kind of signal that's not normal, that when connected with threat data, you can cut that system off before it does damage across the entire network. To me, that's the three principles working in unison. But I think if you measure it as an overall ecosystem approach, and a compliance one at that, the evolution of the standards and then the implementation of those standards by those vendors across the ecosystem is where a lot of the acceleration will come from. In most instances, you might find vendors are selling zero trust as a feature, but for me, it's a principle that sits above and around an overall architectural approach, but executed at different layers of the IT landscape. And as I said before, it is about where to get started, and it is a language that we teach, each other as well across people who are not familiar with security. It is something that that does cut through. People do apply it even today when they're receiving phone calls, SMSs. You have a zero trust mindset every time a call comes in. So translating that into the bigger picture, I think we're going to be able to make, for the CIOs, the CTOs, et cetera, listening to us today, that mindset applied to that overall architectural approach will give, that benefits as these regulatory and standards efforts continue to evolve.
I think it's very well said. I couldn't agree more with you that it is sort of a mindset that you have to approach it with, and it's just not a set of tools that ultimately, well, it will translate to a certain amount of tools, but it is sort of a mindset and how you sort of approach that as a framework. Very well said. I couldn't agree more.